you're a regular follower of this channel, you'll know that I don't normally do first impression reviews on motorcycles. There are plenty of them out there that do it, and there are plenty of them that get it wrong. And to my mind, it requires a very experienced, discerning rider to be able to come away from a 2 or 3 hour ride with an accurate and intelligent appraisal of the bike. And personally, I don't think even I fit into that category. So this isn't a first impression video, it's a second impression video. I initially did a test ride of the bike and drank in as much of it as I possibly could. Went away for a week to think about it, and then came back and did a second, much longer test drive of about 2.5–3 hours, which helped to either confirm or deny my initial first impressions of the bike. And of course, the bike in question is the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Now, the Interceptor and its sportier sister, the Continental GT, both represent not only the first twin-cylinder mid-range motorcycle to roll out of a Royal Enfield factory since the summer of 1970, they also represent Royal Enfield's first production motorcycles since then capable of exceeding the tonne. This bike was designed and developed from the ground up in the UK at Royal Enfield's UK-based Research and Development Centre. A 648cc parallel twin, it develops 47 brake horsepower at 7,100 revs per minute, with a maximum torque of 52 Newton meters at 4,000 revs per minute. It's a Euro 4 compliant engine with fuel injection, I believe supplied by Bosch, and a 6-speed gearbox. Bucking the recent trend of water-cooled engines, Royal Enfield opted for an air oil-cooled engine, with a stated fuel consumption of 70 miles per imperial gallon. The bike features a steel tubular double cradle frame with a 41mm front fork suspension, giving 110mm of travel. The rear shocks are twin coilover shocks made by the American shock manufacturer Gabriel, a manufacturer better known for its car and truck suspension than motorcycles. Front and rear braking's managed by B-Brade twin pot calipers, B-Brade being a budget subsidiary of well-known Brembo, and the front disc, a 320mm, is actually a Brembo item, although I wasn't able to see any markings on the rear 240mm disc. Braking system is of course a Bosch ABS, and the whole thing is connected together using stainless steel braided hoses. The wheels sit on anodized alloy rims, and unless I'm mistaken, the spokes appear to be polished stainless steel. The bike rolls on a set of Pirelli Phantoms, a good dependable tyre that I've used on the Bonnevilles and I've never had an issue with. Straight off the mark, there's no mistaking that this engine is a gem. Royal Enfield described the power delivery as linear, and it is exactly that. There are no flat spots or power surges throughout the rev range. Fuel injection is a standard cable operated item, and combined with expert fueling, stopping, starting and negotiating tricky obstacles at low speed are no problem at all. Power delivery is smooth, there are no glitches or surges to catch out the novice and fatigue the rider. The clutch is very light and smooth, and combined with a very slick and precise 6-speed gearbox, this bike is a delight to ride. From neutral to first gear, there is no familiar clunk, it just slides in with ease. And changing up and down at first, you can be forgiven for thinking that there is a problem and the gears are not engaging. That's how smooth they are. Once you get used to this, your body tunes into the imperceptible click with each change. It's an effortless bike to ride. The suspension is much better than I was expecting. It's set up on the plush side of firm. The demonstrator I was riding was set at position 2 on the preload, giving a soft, plush feedback from the road, ironing out minor to medium road imperfections to the point of barely being noticeable. But when the going gets tough, the suspension does stiffen up considerably, doing a really good job of keeping the tyres in contact with the road without rattling your fillings out. There's no doubt about it, although it doesn't look it, this is budget suspension. But I couldn't help feeling as I was riding that Royal Enfield have, with this suspension, achieved nothing short of witchcraft. Being used to the Bonnevilles, this bike does feel a little bit high when you first get on it, but you soon get used to that. It's a slightly sporty, leaned forward sit-up and beg position. This means that most of your weight is transferred to your inner thighs and your sit bones. And combined with half decent suspension and a medium to plush seat, I found the ride to be very comfortable, with most of the worst bumps and bangs transferred away from your spine. I'll sum the brakes up by saying they are very good, well within the capabilities of the performance of this bike, and the rear brake is possibly the best I've come across on modern bikes. Handling wise, I'm not going to start talking about frame geometry and rake because I don't fully understand it and neither do you. The bike has enough performance to feel sporty when you want it to, and the handling matches that. It's neutral, it's confidence inspiring. Royal Enfield might have penny pinched in some areas on this bike, but not where it matters. I get the feeling that the engineers and the designers got their own way and the accountants were told to keep the noses out. Quality on the whole is excellent. All the components that matter are well up to grade. The welding on the frame is neat and tidy, and so is the powder coating that covers it. And the paintwork on the mudguards, the tank and the side panels is just as good as anything that the big Japanese manufacturers turn out. I like that Royal Enfield have decided to polish the engine casings. That is a proper late 1960s touch, and a decorative finish that's easy to care for if you know how. It's true, this is a basic bike. There's no traction control, there's no fuel computer, and it doesn't have different engine modes. What it does have is the true basic heart and soul of a late 1960s motorbike. Easy to live with, easy to care for, easy to ride, and easy to fall in love with. It even has a proper motorcycle toolkit. It's an evocative bike that conjures up images of lazy weekend rides in hot weather along coastal roads in a carefree era, which is something I think every biker can identify with. Okay, not everything's perfect, no bike's perfect. The rear silencers, in my opinion, are ugly, but that's down to Euro 4 emissions regulations. The rear swing arm is a little bit basic, but it does the job. And the switchgear looks like it was built from a kit that came out of a Kinder Egg. But it works, it does the job. I have heard people complain about the position of the foot pegs in that they catch the legs on them when they're manoeuvring the bike around in parking spaces, etc. I really can't understand where they're coming from, and with all due respect to those people, I can only put this down to inexperience because I never caught my shins or my calves with these once. And believe me, during these filming sessions I'm forever shunting the bike backwards and forwards, especially on narrow roads like the one in this video. And the fuel gauge is not giving an accurate litre perfect reading. Well, I reckon I've had about 8 bikes with fuel gauges like that and 1 or 2 cars. It's nothing new and it's not exclusive to Royal Enfield. Oh, and what's the other one? The 6th gear only being an overdrive, and I think that is possibly the most preposterous one that I've heard. In the last 10 years I have not owned a bike that is capable of maintaining top gear at 30 miles an hour. The way that gear ratios are generally worked out on modern bikes, the engine just won't allow it. In fact, the T120 isn't happy at anything above 3rd gear at 30 miles an hour. I'm pleased to report that Royal Enfield have really got the gear ratios sorted out on this bike. Not only will it sit quite happily at 30 miles an hour in 6th gear, it will also happily accelerate from there without any complaint. Now, I know it does vary from country to country, but my understanding is that here in the UK this bike comes with a market-leading 3-year unlimited mileage warranty with roadside assistance, which is, I think, a testament to Royal Enfield's confidence in the engineering on this machine, especially when you consider the price. I've got quite used to complaining about the price of bikes in that they're nearly all way overpriced for what they are, with some of them being £2,000 to £3,000 dearer than what I consider to be reasonable for what they are. But refreshingly, in the case of the Interceptor, I actually believe Royal Enfield have underpriced it. A bike like this is worth £6,000 to £6,500 of anyone's money, in my opinion, yet it's currently being offered at £5,500 on the road. Royal Enfield are giving away a hell of a lot of bike for the money, and I can't help thinking that they're offering it at probably not much more than cost, simply to get established in the worldwide market in this category of bike. What this could mean is that next year or the year after, we could see quite a marked increase in price as Royal Enfield's reputation and confidence starts to grow. This bike and its sister the Continental are landmark models that fill a niche that no one else has filled by offering a middleweight modern classic bike with genuine period styling and a proven and undeniable British classic heritage. Now in India, I believe the average rider is aged between the mid and late 20s. The demographics here in the UK and probably in most other European countries and the Americas are substantially older than that. But this bike is A2 licence compatible, and at this low accessible price, it would be nice to think that this is the model that's going to start pulling younger riders back onto bikes and out of the cars. We could only hope. It's a lovely bike to look at and it's a lovely bike to ride, and I have to admit I do just have space in my garage and I am sorely tempted. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks. I would like to say a big thank you to LMT Motorcycles in Louth for the loan of this bike for the day. A good old-fashioned bike shop and of course Royal Enfield dealer. So if you live in the vicinity and you are interested in one of these bikes, you will get a warm welcome. That's about it for this video. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you've found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I will of course be back next week, so until then, ride safely and I'll see you soon.